my dear classmate, and especially to our instructor. I will be presenting to you the continuation of Special Police Operation in the topic of police assistance during implementation of order decision. What is police assistance during implementation of order or decision? This is the request for police assistance shall be submitted to the office of the PNP in case the final decision or order to implemented is rendered by the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, the Court of Tax Appeals, the Sandigan Bayan, quasi-judicial bodies, or administrative bodies. If the final decision or order is rendered by the Regional Trial Court, RTC, or the Municipal Trial Court, MTC, the request shall be submitted to the office of the RD of the PRO having territorial jurisdiction over the place of implementation. Ito ay pinapahiwatig na pinapakita dito yung proseso ng paano isumite ang isang kaso. Sunod tayo. Letter A. During labor disputes. Any controversy arising between a worker, an employer or trade union, an employer's respect of the application of law, collective agreement, work rules, employment contract or customary rules, and also any disagreement arising during collective bargaining or in connection with a collective. These are the general policy guidelines that PNP will be follow. Letter A. The involvement of PNP personnel during strikes, lockouts, and labor disputes in general shall be limited to the maintenance of peace and order, enforcement of laws, and implementation of legal orders of the duly constituted authorities. Letter B. In case of actual violence, the police can respond without written requests. C. No PNP personnel shall be allowed to render police assistance in connection with a strike or lockout, or there is question of compliance is regard with her relationship by affinity of consanguinity to any official leader of the parties in the controversy if he has financial of pecuniary interest therein. Letter D. PNP personnel detailed as peacekeeping force in strike or lockout areas shall be wear the prescribed police uniform. E. They shall exercise maximum tolerance and when called for the situation or when all other peaceful and non-violent means have been exhausted, police officers may employ such means as may be necessary and reasonable to prevent or repel or on aggression. F. The matter of determining whether the strike, picket of lockout is legal or not should be left the Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE, and its appropriate agencies. PNP personnel should be not interfere in a strike or lockout except as herein provided. No personnel escort shall be provided to any of the parties to controversy unless upon writing request from DOLE. Whenever escort are to be provided, the other party shall be informed accordingly. All escorts shall be in prescribed uniform. During the pendency of strike, lockout, the police personnel concerned are prohibited from socializing with any of the parties involved in the controversy. Liaison shall be established and maintained with the representatives of DOLE management and the union in the strike lockout area for the purpose of maintaining peace and order as well as the maintaining of continuing peaceful dialogue between the parties to strike lockout. The peacekeeping detail shall be established a command post outside the 50-meter radius from the picket line. A PCAO shall be designated as the head commander of the peace force that will be responsible for the command and the control of the detailed personnel. Number 2 is the applicable legal parameters. What is applicable legal parameters? The pertinent provision of the Public Assembly Act of 1985 Batas Pambansa 8880, the Labor Code of Philippines are amended and the other applicable laws shall be observed during rallies, strike, demonstration, or other public assemblies. Law enforcement agents shall at all times. This is the uh, part of these applicable legal parameters. Letter A, exercise maximum tolerance. Letter B, in case of unlawful aggression, only reasonable force may be employed to prevent or repel it. Letter C, the employment of tear gas and water cannon shall be made under the control and supervision of the ground command, and no arrest of any leader, organized or participant shall be made during the public assembly unless she violates any pertinent law as evident warrant. Number 3. This is the service of law orders of rate. The meaning of this is the service of dole, court, or other unlawful orders or writs is the primary concern of the dole representatives, sheriffs, and representative of the government agency issuing the order when the specifically stated that requested in the order or writ shall be the PNP for such order or writs. Ito ay nababase sa trabaho kasi dole. Pero bibilong dito ang ating mga kapulisan. Number 4. Prohibited labor activities. No personnel of the PNP shall bring in, introduce, or escort in any manner any individual who seeks to replace strikes in entering or leaving the premises or strike area, or work in replacement of the strikers. Number 5. Obstruction during pickets and lockdowns. The ingress and egress of an establishment is not part of the strike of picket area. If the picket or lockdown causes obstruction, the PNP must be first exert all peaceful means to clear the obstruction before resorting the crowd dispersal. Dito ay ang mga ating mga pulisan ang unang-unang nagpapatupad ng peaceful sa isang para ma-clear ang isang area na kung saan may pagdadausan ng occasion. Ganun. Letter B, this is the second topic. During enforcement of demolition and ejectment orders. Number 1. Role of the PNP in the enforcement of demolition and ejectment order. A. Police assistance in the enforcement of implementation of demolition or ejectment order shall be granted only upon written request of the sheriff of equivalent officer in quasi-judicial and administrative bodies accompanied by a valid order issued by a competent court, quasi-judicial administrative body, and required with the Executive Order EO 708 amending EO 152 and Department of the Interior and Local Government DILG. Memo Circular Number 2008-143. The proponent shall only be provided with police assistance upon presentation of certification from the local housing board that requires under RA 7279 are compiled with for urban areas. Moreover, said that police assistance shall be coordinated with the concerned LCE before its enforcement. The conduct of pre-demolition conference in cases where the affected families are informal settled shall be mandatory before the provision of police assistance. The duties of PNP personnel in any demolition or ejectment activity shall be limited to the maintenance of peace and order, protection of life and property, and the enforcement of laws and legal orders. PNP personnel tasked to provide police assistance shall be prescribed uniform during the actual demolition. They shall be limited only to occupying the first line of law enforcement and civil disturbance. Control shall not participate in physical dismantling of any structure subject or of demolition and shall use only necessary and reasonable force. Number 2, procedures in the enforcement of demolition and ejectment order. This is the part of this procedures enforcement of demolition and ejectment order. Risk and treatment assessment shall be conducted. PNP personnel shall be informed of the prevailing situation in their task. Strict observe of human rights must be adhered. As much as practicable, the COP shall lead the PNP contingent detailed to assist the sheriff or equivalent officer during the demolition ejectment activity. All PNP personnel involved shall desist from the use of any unnecessary force or any act that may harm, harass, or terrorize the affected parties. The mode of participation shall be limited to the maintenance of the peace and order during the entire demolition, ejectment activity, ensuring the protection of all parties from harm and injury. Tear gas, water cannons, and reasonable force shall be used only wherein all other peaceful and non-violent means have been exhausted. Any PNP member whose families are affected with the demolition and ejectment shall be adhere to the order issued by competent authority. In no case shall be a PNP member intervene during the implementation of such order enforcement of demolition and ejectment. And the COP shall ensure the presence of the fire and medical teams in the activity area. Next is about during implementation of final decision or orders of the courts in civil cases of quasi-judicial bodies and of administrative bodies within the jurisdiction. Police assistance in implementation of final decision or orders are resolution the court civil cases of administrative bodies except cases with issued temporary restraining order in injunction. All requests for police assistance, regardless of which courts, quasi-judicial bodies, or administrative bodies render the final decision or order shall be submitted to the RD or PRO where the police assistance will be rendered. Requirements for the police assistant. Requests for police assistant in the implementation of final decision orders which shall be acted only upon compliance of the following condition. The request for the police assistant is the base in order the court, quasi-judicial, or administrative bodies. The written request for police assistance including a certification shall be signed by the sheriff or equivalent officer is quasi-judicial or administrative bodies. The request is filed at least 5 working days prior to the actual implementation. The original document of the final decision, order, resolution must be presented. In the absence of the same, a copy duly authenticated by the clerk of the court or the authorized representative of the court, quasi-judicial or administrative, will suffice. Period to render police assistance. Police assistance shall be rendered so we continue. Police assistance shall be rendered within 3 working holidays for receipt of the directive from the CPNP or RD, PRO unless a specific period is written in the order or due to inherent of impossibility in rendering of assistance. Therefore, office or unit that may be tasked to render police assistance. The CPNP, as may be recommended by Director for Operation TDO, may task any operational support unit in the PNP of the PRO that has jurisdiction in the area wherein the decision or the resolution shall be implemented to render police assistance. Number 5, extent of police assistance. The head of office is unit tasked to render police assistance shall have the discretion to employ the sufficient number of PNP uniformed personnel after taking into consideration the importance of the case, the scope of the assistance to be encountered, if there is any the general peace and order condition in the area. Number 6, role of the PNP personnel rendering police assistance. PNP personnel shall be observed maximum tolerance and respect for human rights at all times. Dialogue with those who may be affected by implementation of the decision or the resolution is encouraged to prevent violence, and assistance and the local official when warranted should be the requested. So that's all, and thank you.